Hi there, welcome to my studio in Cornwall. And so I start by putting some texture paste at the bottom of the painting, and that's going to be a sort of just a foreground anyway. Let's see how that turns out. The canvas is 12 by 10. And I just use a decorator's filler, ordinary everyday household filler for this. You can buy artist filler if you like, but I just find that this works fine. It gives a nice rough texture. And the colours I'm using today are ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, black, raw umber, and cream. And so I start by deciding where my sea, sky and foreground is going to be. And I just put a line across there in pencil. And now I start to work on the sky. And I've mixed, I want a grey blue for the sky. I've mixed a cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, black and cream to get this lovely grey blue. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll know that I don't just put on one coat. There'll be quite a few layers going on here. This is just the first layer. And the same with everything, with the clouds, with the sand, with everything, really. I do many layers until I'm satisfied with it. And now I'm starting to put in where I want the sea to be. And I want this very, very dark. So I've used cerulean blue and black for this. And I thought it would be nice by doing a small canvas. It's 12 by 10 inches. And I thought it would be nice for beginners to have a go at. So I'm introducing a few colours into the sky, very subtle colour, layers of colour. And with this one, with this colour, I just mixed a little bit of, I just mixed a tiny bit of crimson, the smallest amount, with some cerulean blue and some cream. And I've got a lovely sort of lilac colour. So I'm putting that into the sky. And I'm not putting it everywhere. I'm just putting patches of it, you'll see. So I'm starting to introduce some colour into the foreground. And I've mixed some raw sienna with some cream. And I'm just using that there. And I also had on my brush probably a little bit of the grey blue. I don't wash my brushes, I don't saturate them. My brushes are quite dry. And I just wipe them on a piece of cloth. I never really wash my brushes as such. At the end of the day, when I've painted lots of paintings, I will wash them then and dry them. But I like my brushes to be not saturated with water. I'm starting to add some darks because this foreground is going to have many layers, different lights and darks in it. So I'm just adding some darks with a palette knife And I'm just using cerulean blue and black, basically. Maybe a little bit of the burnt umber. And I just keep making marks into the wet paint here and there. Just put a little bit of cream in there, maybe, where the sea is. But I just make marks and go over and over them. I'm adding more dark. I want that sea to be quite dark. And I just use ultramarine blue and black for that. And whatever is on my brush I use in the foreground, and just to add to those layers in the foreground. So I'm deliberately keeping this painting very, very simple. It is a very simple Impressionist painting that, a beginner can have a go at. And it's basically going to be a sky, very thin piece of ocean, and a beach. And I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And now it's time to work on the sky a little bit. So I'm putting in some dark clouds into the sky, and I'm just using some brown and some black and some cream and some dark blue mixed together to just add that darkness into the sky. And I'm introducing a lovely peachy pink colour, and for this I just used some raw sienna and some cream, predominantly cream, way. And I got this lovely peachy colour. I've started to add some cream highlights into the cloud over the dark areas and the peach colour. And I'll go backwards and forwards with this. I'll put some cream and I'll put some peach, and we'll go backwards and forwards, exposing the layer underneath all the time. It's a good idea to let your paint dry in between colours. If you feel you've got too much paint, you can just get a cloth and just dab it and then carry on with your brush. You can just dab off excess paint because you don't want it to be thick. No, you don't want to obscure the different colours that you've got underneath. So I decided to use that lovely pink colour that I made, and I added a bit of raw sienna to it, and I'm adding it to the sky over the top of the clouds. So I leave the camera running, but at the moment all I'm doing is just adding more layers to the foreground, to the sea, I just keep adding. And I leave the camera running, but I just want you to know that's what I'm doing. And I just want you to know that these paintings are made up with layers and layers. You just keep going over and over until you like it, exposing what's underneath all the time. Now I'm going even darker into those clouds again. I've just added some black, tiny bit of black to that lovely peach. And so I'm happy with the sky at the moment. I'm happy with the painting. So I'm thinking about putting in some seagulls, and I'll show you how I do that in a minute. So what I do is I get a very small palette knife and I put a little bit of black on there and separately a little bit of cream, and then I've got the two colours to go between. I use my fingernails so I get a very thin line. And then obviously in the white cloud I'll put the birds in black, and when they're dry I'll go over them with cream, not completely. I'll just leave some black exposed. And this way you get a really lovely thin line, believable as birds. I've seen people put in birds with a brush and they just do a sort of V shape and they look more like vultures than seagulls. They're too big, they're too thick, and they're too obvious. So if you do it this way, you get a nice subtle seagull. So it's just finishing touches at the moment. I'm almost at the end of the painting. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll have a go at it as well. I've tried to make it as simple as possible for you, for those artists out there. And you're never too old to be a painter, never too old. You can start painting today. It doesn't matter how old you are and that you've not had any experience. Just as long as you're happy with what you produce, as long as you're happy, that's all that really matters. It's such a relaxing pastime, painting. You just get lost in the painting and it takes your mind off anything else that you might be worried about. It's very, very therapeutic, and I hope you're enjoying my little tuition videos. The channel can be supported by super thanks or simply by liking, sharing and subscribing. And with that, I'll say bye for now, and as always, love from Cornwall.